Hey guys, so today we'll be taking a look at the CNN projection for the 2020 presidential election. This is a forecast that we have never taken a look at on this channel, so I think it'll be interesting to take a look at how CNN is currently projecting the 2020 presidential election. And before we get into that, make sure you join my Discord server if you have not. The link is at the very top of the description below, and we're doing a lot of events as well as giveaways and contests on there right now, so make sure you join so you do not miss out on those. As well as that, recently today I have launched channel memberships, so make sure you sign up for that if you would like them. They're just 99 cents, and you will gain access to some pretty sweet perks, and they're optional. Make sure you check them out if you are interested. There's a whole video talking about them, just going more in depth into what you will be able to gain from these memberships. So moving on to the video, first I'm going to fill in the safe states for both Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Starting off with the solid Trump states. He's going to win Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Utah. So basically CNN uses two different categorizations. They have solid and they have lean. So there's just two, and then they also have a battlegrounds categorization. So they don't actually fill in every single state. But continue on here, for President Trump, he will also win North and South Dakota, as well as all of Nebraska except for the 2nd District, including the states of Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, all of the Deep South, Mississippi, Alabama, as well as Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, South Carolina, and Alaska. These are all solid Republican states, giving Donald Trump his usual 125 electoral votes. Now, in my opinion, this is every single GOP state that is solid for President Trump in terms of his chances of going to the president. But definitely there are going to be some disagreements that I have with this map. I don't think Montana will be a solid margin. I think it'll be more of a likely margin in Montana. Kansas and Missouri, I think, are going to be lean states, so I don't think that these are going to be solid margins, but I think they're definitely going to go to the president. Indiana, I think it's going to be likely, as well as Mississippi. I think South Carolina is also going to be likely, in addition to the state of Alaska. So these states, I think, are 100% going to go to the president once again, but margins-wise, I don't think they're going to be solid. Now, for Joe Biden, he has quite a few more solid states. He has all of the West Coast. No surprises there. He also has Hawaii, the state of New Mexico, as well as Illinois, the state of Virginia, and then most of the Northeast is all solid for Joe Biden, with the addition of the state of Maine and all of its regions except for the 2nd District, and Pennsylvania is not a state for Joe Biden, and then the District of Columbia. So this gives Joe Biden a total of 203 electoral votes from his safe states, and then for the lean states for both President Trump and Joe Biden. First off, for President Trump, he has one, and I think you can all guess what that is. That state is the state of Texas, the only lean state that will go to President Trump, and the only state on this map that will continue to be in the Trump column is the state of Texas, a state that no Democrat has won since 1976, so President Trump isn't even doing well in this state. This was solid for Mitt Romney in 2012. Trump cut that margin in half, and now he is expected to decrease that margin in half once again in 2020. Now, Joe Biden, his likely states, he has quite a few of them. I mean, he has Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, as well as the state of New Hampshire, and then the 2nd District of Nebraska is also lean for Joe Biden. So that gives him 290 electoral votes. He is already at 370, and CNN does project a Biden victory without winning any of these remaining battleground states, which are the 2nd District of Maine, the state of Iowa, Ohio, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. All of these states going to President Trump in 2016 are now some of the closest states in the entire election. Biden leads in the polls in Iowa, he leads in North Carolina, he leads in Georgia, he leads in Florida. There's really not too much data out of the 2nd District, but Trump leads by, I believe, 0.1% in Ohio, according to FiveThirtyEight. So these races are very, very close, and President Trump does not have the edge in any of these states. I don't think either candidate has an edge in Iowa, Ohio, or Georgia, or the 2nd District of Maine, but I do think that Joe Biden definitely does have a little bit of an edge over Donald Trump in both North Carolina and Florida, with these other 4 remaining states in that one district being the true battlegrounds of this election. I think that North Carolina and Florida are going to tip just enough for Joe Biden to flip them from 2016. So without any battleground states filled in, this is 290 electoral votes for Joe Biden and 163 for President Trump. You can see their electoral college map right here. You have solid, lean, battleground, and then lean and solid Republican. You can see their electoral map right here. This is being the same thing, just plotted on here. As you can see, 85 electoral votes worth of battleground states. And then I want to take a look at their latest 2020 election polls. Looking at this data here, Joe Biden's polling average right now nationally is 53%, to President Trump 42%. He is the incumbent, so this is a pretty horrible polling average. I mean, it's 53%, 42. That is an 11-point lead nationwide for Joe Biden. So CNN gives Joe Biden an 11-point lead nationwide according to the polling data. I mean, they take a lot of polls. Even Fox News puts Biden up 10 points. Pew Research puts him up 10 points. So CNN does use some pretty good polling firms. I mean, these are all pretty highly rated on FiveThirtyEight. I mean, Fox News is an A-rated pollster. Cozart, I believe, is also rated pretty well, as well as ABC and Washington Post. I'm pretty sure it's A+. Fox News A-. We can take a look at more polls, but every single poll puts Biden ahead of President Trump with, and that's not within the margin of error. You see that if a poll has that margin of error symbol right there, that means that the poll could be incorrect and the candidate that is trailing in that poll could actually win the state. But right now, according to every single one of these polls here, Joe Biden leads. And in 2016, Hillary Clinton's margin over President Trump in the polling data was within the margin of error. So if President Trump won the popular vote 4 years ago, the polls would not have been wrong because, it was inside the margin of error. However, this time around, it is not. Joe Biden leads outside of the margin of error in every single poll. Now, I'm really only going to take a look at 3 states from their state polling averages, I guess. So Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, of course, really no surprises there. And that is just because, these 3 states are in the Biden column, and I want to take a look at why they're just so solid for Joe Biden. Because he can lose every single yellow state on this map and still comfortably win the election by 20 electoral votes. He already has 20 more than he needs without winning any of these battleground states. So there really isn't any pressure on Joe Biden to win these states, but it would definitely legitimize his victory a little bit more, because I think that we all know that President Trump is going to try to contest the results if there is a Biden victory on election night. So the state of Michigan, Joe Biden leads, by quite a bit. There's no polling average. However, Joe Biden's still doing very well. There's one poll that was conducted from June to August that shows Biden and Trump within the margin of error. However, all of these latest polls, they all show Biden leading over President Trump outside of the margin of error. What you have to keep in mind is that President Trump might have won this state when he was trailing in the polls, but Clinton barely led over Trump, and his victory was well within the margin of error in 2016. Clinton barely led in the state of Michigan, but right now, Joe Biden leads outside of the margin of error in basically every single poll. So for Joe Biden to lose the state of Michigan, every single poll here, with the exception of this University of Wisconsin-Madison poll, would have to be incorrect. Every single poll, except for, this is all really old, but every single poll here would have to be incorrect with the exception of this poll. That just means that Joe Biden's chances of losing this state are so small, because in 2016, Michigan was within the margin of error for Donald Trump, and Trump did win the election. Of course, Clinton was expected to, but it was definitely possible that Trump would win. However, these numbers show that President Trump really does not have a chance at victory. Taking a look at the state of Wisconsin, every single poll on this list here is outside of the margin of error for Joe Biden, which means that Joe Biden is the clear leader in the state of Wisconsin. In 2016, this was the only state out of the entire electoral map, out of all 538 electoral votes worth of states. This was the only state that was incorrect based on the polling. Clinton led by around 6.5 points in this state. Trump won it by a margin of 0.7%. So this was the only state that Clinton was supposed to win, according to all of the polling data. However, right now, Joe Biden in a pretty similar situation. However, Joe Biden does lead by a larger margin than Hillary Clinton did in 2016. He does lead by a larger margin over the president. And I mean, Joe Biden is doing very well. There's not a single poll that puts them within the margin of error, and Donald Trump definitely did have a pretty surprising victory here. But what you have to consider is that no real polls were conducted late into the race, just days before the election, because all the polls stopped, I believe, on the second or third in Wisconsin, except for one Trafalgar Group poll, which polled that Trump was ahead. That's why they claim to be the most accurate pollster from 2016. They're C-minus rated in FiveThirtyEight. They are not a good pollster. Their ideology is just not good. But right now, Joe Biden is expected to win according to all of these polls. In 2016, there were no later polls because if you were to take a look at states like Michigan and Pennsylvania, Donald Trump had led in those last polls. Those polls conducted at the very, very end of the election, and that's when President Trump really gained his support. However, this time around, President Trump's numbers really just aren't high enough for him to win because Joe Biden is already at 50%. Hillary Clinton was never at 50%, but Joe Biden is. She was at 46 to 48%, and Clinton went and won almost every single remaining voter and won the election. So that's how he won these three battleground states. But this time around, Hillary Clinton is not Joe Biden. Joe Biden is not Clinton. Joe Biden is a much stronger candidate than she was, because right now people are voting for Joe Biden because they like Joe Biden, not because they hate Donald Trump, but because they think that Joe Biden would make a good president. I mean, Joe Biden's favorability right now is plus 7% nationwide. Hillary Clinton's negative 11-12% throughout the entire election cycle. Now, finally, the state of Pennsylvania. This is Joe Biden's birth state. As you can see again, every single poll is outside of the margin of error that was conducted recently. So Joe Biden is the clear winner here. This was also a state that Trump won, but Clinton had a very narrow lead here, and so it was within the margin of error for a Trump victory to occur. So taking a look at all of this data that we've just taken a look at, Joe Biden doing very well in these three states. I mean, these states are all outside of the margin of error. So right now there is really no possibility for Donald Trump to win. I believe it's a 5% possibility if they're all within outside the margin of error. So there's a 95% chance that Joe Biden wins all of these states according to those polls. So, Joe Biden clearly is just in a very, very good position in this election. Next, I want to take a look at the FiveThirtyEight forecast I just updated, as you can see, 7 minutes ago. I want to take a look at how this forecast has changed because Joe Biden's chances have increased even more. He's down at 87% chance of victory over President Trump. You will see that right here, looking at the winding path to victory, you will see that Georgia has been moved into the Biden column, while Ohio has been moved into the Trump column. So these states essentially just flipped. I didn't mention this in I haven't mentioned this because this is pretty new. So Georgia is now a Biden state, while Ohio is now a Trump state. Trump has retaken the lead in Ohio, and what's surprising is that Joe Biden still leads by over 1% in Iowa, but it is still in the Trump column, which I can definitely understand. Georgia, I could understand if they put it into the Trump column, but Georgia, I think, is going to be very close. I mean, Joe Biden expected to win by just 0.1% there right now. The 2nd District of Maine has also been given back to Joe Biden, so Joe Biden expected to win by 0.4% in the 2nd District of Maine. North Carolina has been in the Biden column, as well as Arizona, Florida. I mean, Pennsylvania is all the way back here, Wisconsin back there, and Michigan is all the way behind the state of Nevada, so Michigan is well out of reach for Donald Trump, I believe, right now, because I do think that this is a correct order. I do think that Georgia would go, then North Carolina, Arizona, Florida, then Pennsylvania. So this is all done very well by FiveThirtyEight. And then the tipping point states, again, you see Pennsylvania still the state with the highest chance of tipping either candidate over 270 electoral votes, followed by the state of Wisconsin, now not Florida, which I found to be pretty surprising. Florida, it's important for President Trump. It is probably one of Trump's most important states. I think that basically every single battleground state is important because President Trump cannot win the election without these states. He has to win every single yellow state. He also would have to win Arizona and the state of Illinois and Michigan. I believe he wants to win the election. So let's just fill this out. If President Trump wins every single yellow state on this map, can he win the election? Yes, he can, but he would need to win every single red state on this map. I'm not going to bother about the 2nd District of Maine, but that is just the position that Donald Trump is in right now. There's no denying that he is not in a good position coming into this election just a little bit over 2 weeks away. Just 2 weeks and 1 day away, we are going to know the results of this election. And I mean, we're probably not going to know the actual results. They are probably going to come in a little bit later. I don't think they're going to be coming in on election night, but it's definitely possible if states do a good job at counting those votes. So Pennsylvania, 26% chance of being the tipping point. Wisconsin, 13.9%, then followed by Florida, then Michigan. I think this is all speculative, so honestly nobody really knows, but Pennsylvania definitely has a very good chance at doing that. And then how this forecast has changed, the chances of winning have been increasing for Joe Biden every single day. He's now peaking at 87%. His electoral vote count is at 347. That's one of the largest electoral votes count he's seen this entire election cycle. And then taking a look at the popular vote, 53.6% to 42.5%, that would be a margin of victory in terms of the popular vote by 8.4%. That would be just amazing for Joe Biden. And I think that if he wins this election on the popular vote by 8.3% or 8.4%, there's absolutely no way that President Trump can win the Electoral College. And, his chances, that President Trump's chances of Biden winning the popular vote but losing the Electoral College is 8% in and of itself. So Joe Biden can win the popular vote by, 1%, and he has an 8% chance of losing the election. If he wins the 8% on the popular vote, I think there's absolutely no chance that Joe Biden's going to lose this election. So basically today we took a look at the CNN forecast, their map projection, for the 2020 election, taking a look at how they are currently projecting this election, as well as the new updated FiveThirtyEight forecast. So I'd like to thank you guys all so much for watching this video. Make sure to join my Discord server if you have not. It's at the links at the very top of the description below. The link to join and become a member is also at the top of the description below, or you can just click that join button down below next to the subscribe button. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like down below. If you are not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, along with any suggestions for videos you'd like to see from me in the future. And I will see all of you guys in the next video.